Welcome back to A Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and tonight we're covering the European game. I'm with Russell Boyce, Lawrence Conley and Natasha Meikle. We're going to have a look back on that first 45. Russell, I'll come to you first. What's your thoughts?
I thought we were out the traps quickly. I think that seems to be a common trait so far, that Ange seems to have them very much pumped up when they come out, and we seem to be playing the free-flowing sort of football, and yet it did all go a bit flat. Nothing highlighted more than the chat about Dundee United or the sort of job interview that Charlie Mulgrew was bizarrely getting midway through the half. I thought encapsulated just how flat the game itself had went. Let's talk about the positives though, Paul, because that's the important thing. And, if that's a sign of things to come from Furuhashi, wow. First touch was superb. The finish was instinctive, as well as the execution being fantastic. I don't know. I just think that there's more to come. I think the opposition tonight is really poor. I think the goal we conceded, again, I don't want to focus on it, but I mean, it was a knife through butter, wasn't it? It was just a piece of cake for the other team, It was too easy. But the plus sides are, you've got a guy like Abada and a guy like Kyogo, who we're told are very much in the mould of what we're going to see in the future from Ange. And I actually felt if that is going to be the future, then those two guys, to me, are something that we should be quite excited about, I think, going forward.
Some good points raised there, Natasha, by Russell. Firstly, that's really the first glimpse we've seen of what Furuhashi can provide to Celtic. What I took from that first half was the contribution. We've not had a contribution from Edouard this season. The work rate, he's working back. And as you say, Russell, an absolutely sublime bit of skill to take his goal. Natasha, I mean, again, Charlie Mulgrew talking about him being a left side. Anyone who's done any kind of research knows that he's played plenty of games through the middle. The guy himself said that he likes to play through the centre. How impressed have you been with his first half performance?
Very, and it's one of the positives from the first half for me. I thought his movement was excellent, and something we've really been lacking so far this season, towards the end of last as well, is that striker up front who's going to offer you that movement, who's going to show for the ball, who is giving that level of effort, and on top of that has that level of ability as well, because when that chance came to him, the first touch was excellent, the finish was excellent. So I'm really impressed by him, and I think a lot of what we discussed before the match has actually come to fruition. We talked about the importance of having a striker who's going to give 110%. We're seeing that in Kyogo. We talked about how there are still going to be weaknesses at the back if we continue to play someone who does not look like a natural centre half. And we look at the goal conceded again, and it's a relatively simple ball comes over the top, and there is nobody marking properly, because positionally it does not look natural to beat on, regardless of how many number of games he's played at centre half. So the issues we identified before the game are there, they're apparent. But focusing on the positives, which I think was probably more the start of the game, because we faded towards half-time. I thought there was a lot of good attacking play. I thought Abada looked excellent. I thought Furuhashi looked excellent. So it's good to see the new boys come in and really add to the team. And something else we touched on before the game is that Turnbull is not giving us enough in these games. And again, I think that can be applied today. So if we're continuing the trend of new players coming in and enhancing the squad, I think McCarthy's going to do that too when he comes into that midfield.
Well, I asked you, Lawrence, before the game, where does McCarthy fit in the Celtic side? And I suggested it was Soro, whose performances hadn't really set the heather alight. I agree with Natasha in that first half. I've been really disappointed with David Turnbull. What do you think it is that's changed in his performances, Lawrence?
I think it's the amount of work he's been asked to do. He just doesn't seem to have the legs to carry up the running. He seems to be a wee bit far away from McGregor at times. He doesn't track back enough. Possibly see Christie coming on for him as the game goes on. I think he's maybe just struggling to adapt. Maybe it's going to take him a few games to get used to it. Maybe it's a different style for him. He's going to need some time to learn that.
Yeah.
Listen, big shout out to Tony Ralston though.
Let's talk about Tony. How many games or how many halves does he have to have like that before more Celtic fans says, you know what, he's doing all right? Russell, let's give you a couple of my stats, my observational stats. None of this heat maps or anything. On the 7th minute, on the 7th minute, Ralston back heel. And then later on the 22nd minute, Ralston back heel. I've also got a number of occasions where he's beaten his man. He's got the ball into the box. He's won loads of balls. I mean, at what point do you say he's actually okay?
He should have had an assist as well.
Mm-hmm.
David Turnbull tamely tried to finish the opportunity. It
was a great ball
on a plate by our Tony Ralston.
That was a great ball.
I said at the start of the show, I felt that he's definitely established himself now as a guy who can vie for the right back position, at the very least be now your second choice if we do get a new body in for that position, which I'm sure has been again targeted by Ange. But Andy Ralston could hold his head high so far how he's began this season. And I know there was interesting debate amongst the ACSOM contributors, and I like that bit of needle between you and Colin debating Lee O'Connor or O'Connell, and Ralston. But there's one winner right now, and Tony Ralston deserves a heck of a lot of credit for how he's. Again, we're talking about David Turnbull not being maybe able to adapt to Andrew's philosophy. I was listening to ACSOM this afternoon. We were talking about inverted fullbacks. Tony Ralston he's doing exactly what's been asked of him.
Yeah.
He's adapting very much to the role. So good luck to him. And right now, you know something, it's not a position I'm now looking at with the same panic that I did have maybe before the season began. I know results haven't been great so far, and even tonight we've given away a basic goal.
Mm-hmm.
But right back now suddenly isn't the position that all the focus seems to be on, and that's, again, a credit to Mr. Ralston himself.
Natasha, are you convinced? Are you as convinced as Boyce?
Ralston does okay, Taylor does okay. Do I think that they are the answer for Celtic long term? No, I still think both positions are positions that we could add and enhance the quality in. I think Ralston and Taylor could be good backups, but I don't think okay is good enough for us at the moment. I don't think, doing a reasonable job or doing nothing wrong is the level we're looking for. I think we do need to go into the market and improve on both of those areas. Can they both be good backups? Yeah, absolutely. I think they would be relatively fine domestically for most games, maybe out with the sort of top 4 teams. But for where Celtic want to be at, we have to have better fullbacks than Ralston and Taylor.
Just further up the park, Lawrence, we've got Abada and Forrest. I think Abada had a very good first half. Forrest, not so much. He doesn't seem to have the beating of his man. What do you do there? Do you switch them? Would that affect the performance of Abada?
Listen, I tried for 10 minutes. Let's see if they can get some joy out of it, because you can't keep going if Forrest isn't going to beat his man the whole game. Or I think he's beaten once the first half. So, yeah. Let's try it, see if we can get some joy out of it. But I think a big change for me is Turnbull coming off.
Yeah,
probably Christie coming on. I think that's.
Would you be as bold to do it now, Lawrence?
Yeah, I'd do it now.
Yeah.
You know what? We're 2-1 up. Arguably, if Turnbull had his shooting boots on, we could have had another couple. So, yeah, I think go in for a kill, get Christie on, get Turnbull off, try and lift the pace again. Ryan's got more running in his legs, isn't he? He closes down better, I think, and Turnbull tracks back better. I think it's the change to get made just now, and switch the wingers and go for a third. Well,
let's have a wee chat about the defence, because we've not even mentioned Joe Hart yet. And I think there was a moment, we were talking earlier on about what he's going to bring to the team. As much as the ability, I'm talking about being a dominant figure at the back, Russell. And I think there was a moment when him and Taylor, there was a passage you play where had that been Bain, he probably would have tried to take the man on. Had it been Barkas, I'm not quite sure what he would have done. But Hart just kept his cool, and you could see he was actually talking Taylor through it, give me the ball back, and then he was able to play his way through that and out of there. Now, he didn't get much of a chance with the goal because he was basically given a situation where he's one-on-one with the striker. As you say, it was like a hot knife through butter. Easy ball over the top. Beaton's out of position, he's flat-footed. Starfelt then makes himself look bad by trying to get back. Yes. It wasn't his man. He's left his own man to try and get back. So I would say Beaton's positional ability or inability there was the reason behind it. What do you think about the defence? There's plenty of comments coming in. Owen McGrandles, that defence is shocking. We've also got Lawrence Reed agreeing with you, Natasha. Now, if people are agreeing with you, I'm going to bring it up. Exactly, Natasha. Ralston is okay, but we need more ambition. And then MT comes in 10 in a row. Ralston only getting credit until he inevitably messes up. Russell, can you think of a time where he has messed up? We were just talking about it in the first half.
No, I can't at all. I just think, it's one of those players. I mean, if you're waiting for him to inevitably mess up, then that just shows you the mindset sometimes is quite unfair on certain individuals in teams. I would love to say it was the same case with Beaton, but sadly, he's just a poor player. For me, it's just not going to work for Beaton as a centre back. I don't give him the same sort of level of credibility that I would give Ralston. I would give Ralston the benefit of the doubt at times, more than what I would give Beaton, because you've seen the movie a million times before with Beaton. I think you're absolutely right about the goal. He's miles out of position again. I mean, at times he gets 30 yards of space and he can look like Paolo Maldini or Baresi all he wants, but at the end of the day, and he can have left foot pings that go 3 yards over the bar, and we think, oh wow, a forward-thinking centre-back, that's wonderful, he's in those positions. To me, the actual basics of defending are really important right now. And as for Joe Hart, I mean, what he was doing with Greg Taylor, you were touching on there. We're not allowed to judge Joe Hart yet. Remember, you're not allowed to judge a manager after 300 minutes of football on anything. So you're not allowed to judge Joe Hart in 45 minutes. Otherwise, you'll get pelters. Just on the touch, getting pelters as well. I think it's been good that Natasha's been back on, because we were bouncing about the studio in delight at our performance on Sky Sports. And I just think some of that stuff, people need to have a really good, long, hard look at themselves when they're posting such nasty stuff, because it's really not necessary. Disagree with Natasha on her football views. I mean, geez, we disagree on most of them, but the fact of the matter is, it's got nothing to do with the angles that you see people going down. I just think that I probably should have said that in the pre-match show, but I forgot.
No, but yes, it's a point. It's a point that you've continually got to reiterate, and you shouldn't have to reiterate it. But it is a point you're continually saying yourself, Russell. I say it on social media as well. And I think that when you actually ask someone to try and break down, like you did earlier on today or yesterday, Russell, and explain what the point is they're trying to make, there is no point. They actually don't have a point. They don't even disagree with you, Natasha. You know, that's what came out of the discussion that Russell had earlier. They don't disagree with you, but you've got no right to say it on a different medium for some strange reason. Now, Robert Baker makes a point. Forrest is out of position. It's daft. I'm probably looking at that one, Lawrence, and thinking, well, why change Abada, who's having a good game? You know, in the momentum of that, he's got the beating of the defender. Keep him where he is. Maybe take Forrest off and replace him with Christie. Because I think Christie's played pretty well since Sandra's come in. Would you make that change, perhaps, at halftime?
Nah, if anyone's come off for me, it's Turnbull. Listen, there's nothing to say if you switch the wingers. Abada doesn't beat the guy at Forrest. He's only beat maybe once first half, and Forrest gets some joy down the right. You know, maybe the left back's not as good as the right back, but I wouldn't take Forrest off just now. You know, he's got to experience it. Big games for us. He's a goal scorer, can play right across the front three. So I think that for me, the change has got to be Turnbull off, just now, Christie on.
Yeah, I mean, Robert makes a good point. We've got to be balanced. Beaton's pass was nice for the goal. Yeah, it was an excellent pass, actually. So, on the one hand, you're looking at that, the way that he opened that up with an excellent pass, and it was quite soon afterwards. CFC disagrees. He doesn't think it was Beaton's fault. Behave yourself. I think that was probably aimed at me. That's fair dues. And another point coming in relation to Christie from Barca Boy, but it's disappeared, is that he should be coming on at halftime as well. And I mean, we know Christie can play for come on for Turnbull as well, of course, because he can play as the old number 10. So second half then, Russell, would you give it 10 minutes before assessing and making any kind of changes? I've watched that first half. I think Celtic are far away, a really cheap goal. Otherwise, we'd be going for 3 and maybe even a couple more goals in the second half. But we've put ourselves in that position again, haven't we? Mm-hmm. Again, looking at the bench, quite a strong bench, Russell. Do you wait until 10, 15 minutes in before you make that change?
I like Lawrence's attitude. I think if you can identify a problem, there's no harm in making the change as early as you see the problem there. I'm not entirely sure what the benefit of the extra 10 minutes would be with Turnbull's situation. You've got to say as well, I know he hit one with his right peg that went a couple of yards wide. But you do give those opportunities to Christie, and as much as he's shooting his lamented at times, I also happen to think, you know, his goal record at Celtic is good, and I think he would have took at least one of those opportunities that Turnbull's had tonight. And I think he'll just inject some energy second half. That's how we want to begin.
Thanks everybody for getting involved. It's been a busy half-time bulletin, but the action has started again. So let's rejoin it and we'll see you at full time. Thanks for joining us on a Celtic State of Mind.